The hardwood floors of attorney Miriam Stone's office always reminded me of my mother's. Smooth, dark, polished so perfectly you could see your reflection if you looked hard enough. But I wasn't here to admire flooring or breathe the scented candles she always kept burning. I was here to close the last chapter of Leora Torres's life, my mother, my savior, my everything. The clock on the wall clicked once, an empty, hollow sound that made my chest tighten. I sat across from the long mahogany conference table, my hands clasped so tightly my knuckles were white. My mother's final will lay sealed in a cream envelope at the center, waiting to be opened, waiting to change my life forever. "Zaria," Attorney Stone said gently, sliding into the chair beside me, "whenever you're ready, we'll begin." I tried to nod, I think I did. But my throat felt tight, my eyes burning with the familiar heaviness of grief. Losing Leora 2 weeks ago had gutted me. She wasn't just a mother. She was my anchor, my fire, my second chance at life. She'd built a real estate empire in Briarwood Heights with nothing but grit and brilliance, and she raised me as if I were sunlight shaped into a girl. And now she was gone. I inhaled shakily. Let's just get it done. But before Attorney Stone could touch the envelope, the office door slammed so violently the glass vibrated. The scent hit me first, a nauseating mix of cheap liquor, stale cigarettes, and dollar store perfume. My heart froze. I knew that smell. I knew it like a scar. "Zaria, baby," a shrill voice sang, slicing into the quiet room. My body reacted before my mind could. I flinched, my chair scraping hard against the floor. Every cell in my body screamed, "Run," but my legs wouldn't move. Melody, my biological mother. She hadn't said my name in 16 years, when she left me on a cold cement bench at Briarwood Central Bus Depot with a half-eaten bag of chips and a promise she'd be right back. She never came back, but here she was. Behind her stumbled Tyrone, my biological father. His shirt was wrinkled, his cheap gold chain swinging as he tried to steady himself. He looked older, puffier, bloated, eyes bloodshot, but that same hungry, slick smile was plastered on his face. "Look at her, Mel," he said loudly, "our little girl all grown up." Melody rushed toward me with wide arms as if we were a happily reunited family. I didn't stand. I didn't move. I just stared at her like a ghost from a nightmare. Her arms dropped halfway, her excitement replaced by irritation. "Really?" she snapped. "That's how you greet your mama?" Mama. The word made bile rise in my throat. Attorney Stone stood. "Mr. and Mrs. Reed, you were not invited. Please sit or leave." "Oh, we'll sit," Tyrone said, tugging Melody toward the chairs across from me. "We're family. We got every right to be here." Family. The word felt like rot in my mouth. They sat down, legs bouncing with impatient greed, eyes scanning the expensive furniture as if deciding what they'd sell first. Melody leaned forward, whispering loudly, "So, when do we hear what Leora left us?" Us. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Attorney Stone ignored them entirely. She broke the seal on the envelope and unfolded the will. Her voice was calm, steady, powerful. "This is the last will and testament of Ms. Leora Torres." Tyrone straightened. Melody held her breath. "To my niece, whom I have raised as my daughter in every way that matters. Zaria Torres, I leave my primary residence in Briarwood Heights, currently valued at $2.3 million. Melody gasped. Tyrone's eyes nearly fell out of his head. "And the remainder of my estate, including all liquid assets, investment holdings, and properties, valued at approximately $5.6 million. The room froze. I felt the words but didn't feel them at the same time. $5.6 million. My mother left it all to me. Melody shot to her feet so fast the chair toppled behind her. No, that's not right," she shrieked. "I'm her sister. I'm blood. Where's my share?" Tyrone slammed his fist on the table. "This is some trick. You lawyers think you slick." Attorney Stone lifted one eyebrow. "Sit down." They didn't. Melody jabbed her finger at me. "That girl poisoned Leora's mind. She manipulated her. She took our place," Tyrone added, puffing out his chest like he could intimidate the truth itself. "We her parents, you hear me? Her parents. And by law, we her guardians." The room fell silent. A cold wave swept through me. Guardians. Melody smirked as she locked eyes with me. You didn't know, did you, baby? We never signed no papers, never gave you up, which means we manage that money until she's 25, Tyrone declared proudly. He grinned a triumphant, hateful grin. All them millions, they ours. My stomach dropped. They weren't here to mourn. They weren't here for me. They were here for her money. For my inheritance, the one thing my mother spent her life building. They wanted to take it. Tyrone leaned forward, smirking like he'd already won. Looks like you back under our roof, girl. My breath caught. No, 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 no. Attorney Stone moved calmly, almost too calmly. She placed the will down, removed her reading glasses, and smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a lioness who had watched her prey wander willingly into her den. Mr. Reed, she said softly, you raise a very interesting point. Tyrone's grin widened. Melody lifted her chin smugly. Attorney Stone leaned back in her chair. Let's talk about parental rights. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. My heart pounded. Something was coming. I didn't know what, but I knew one thing. Leora Torres didn't lose fights, and she was about to win her last one. What Attorney Stone pulled out next didn't just shatter their lies, it blew their entire plan out of existence. Tyrone leaned back in his chair like a king who had just claimed a throne he didn't earn. Melody crossed her arms, chin lifted, eyes full of smug triumph. They thought this was checkmate. Attorney Miriam Stone didn't rush. She didn't panic. She didn't even flinch. She simply reached down to a large leather briefcase at her feet, the kind that looked like it held secrets, not documents. With slow, deliberate precision, she clicked the brass latches open. Tyrone's smirk flickered. Melody glanced at him nervously. Attorney Stone pulled out a thick blue folder. Legal paper, bound, stamped, official. She slid it across the table until it stopped directly in front of Tyrone. Why don't you read the title aloud? She said, her tone light, almost conversational. Tyrone frowned, squinting. He picked up the document with trembling hands. His lips moved before sound came out. Final order for termination of parental rights. The words hit the air like a gunshot. Melody stiffened. Termination? Termination of what? Attorney Stone folded her hands gracefully on the table. Your parental rights, she said, both of yours, permanently, irreversibly, signed, notarized, and court-approved 14 years ago. My breath caught. Tyrone blinked hard. What is this? Some fake paper? This ain't legal. It is legal, Attorney Stone said calmly. Your signatures are notarized. The judge's signature is here. She tapped the page. This is the official decree from Fulton Crest County Court. Melody snatched the papers out of Tyrone's hands. What is she talking about? We never signed no termination. Attorney Stone raised an eyebrow. The $4,000 cash payment you took from Ms. Leora Torres, does that refresh your memory? Melody went silent immediately. My heart cracked open. I had always wondered why they left me so easily, why they never looked for me, why they never fought. Now I knew. 14 years ago, my mother, Leora, had bought my freedom. She paid them to leave me alone. The room spun. Melody shook her head violently. No. Leora said that was for groceries. Attorney Stone laughed, a quiet, sharp sound. Groceries. Ms. Reed, the transfer was recorded as voluntary relinquishment. You exchanged your parental rights for cash, and the judge approved it. Tyrone's voice cracked. This ain't real. This ain't... Oh, it's very real. Attorney Stone stood, walking around the table like a teacher addressing misbehaving children. And it means, legally speaking, you have the same relationship to Zaria as a stranger on the street. Silence. Melody's knees buckled. She dropped into her chair like her bones no longer worked. Tyrone gripped his forehead with both hands. No, you don't understand, he sputtered. We didn't know. Didn't know, Attorney Stone repeated softly. Shall I read the part where the judge asked you both, twice, whether you understood that termination meant no future contact, no visitation, no parental rights, and no legal claim of any kind? Tyrone's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Melody burst into tears, real ones, sharp and panicked, but Attorney Stone wasn't finished. "Oh, and one more thing," she said, returning to her briefcase. She pulled out a second document, thicker, heavier, with a golden court seal that gleamed under the warm office lights. Melody blinked through her tears. "What now?" Attorney Stone placed the document gently on the table. "Zaria," she said, turning to me, her voice softening, "this part is for you." She handed me the papers. My hands shook as I read the title, Final Decree of Adoption. My throat closed. My chest tightened, my eyes burned. My mother had adopted me, legally, privately, completely, not as an aunt, as a mother. Attorney Stone spoke softly but firmly. "Ms. Leora Torres filed for your adoption the same day she filed the termination papers. She wanted to make sure no one could ever take you from her." Melody gasped like someone punched her in the chest. "Adopted? She adopted our daughter?" Attorney Stone turned to her. "She adopted her child. You abandoned her child. Legally speaking, the two of you are irrelevant." Tyrone slammed his fist again, harder, louder. "That's a lie. She stole our baby. This was all her plan. She manipulated us." Attorney Stone slid him a cold, sharp look. "You weren't manipulated. You were paid, and you took it gladly." Melody choked on a sob. This can't be happening." But it was. For the first time in years, I felt something stir in my chest. Not fear, not confusion, not grief. Strength. The strength she taught me. The strength she left me. "Now then," Attorney Stone said briskly, smoothing her blazer, "since you are legal strangers, you have absolutely zero claim to Leora's estate." Melody's breath hitched. Tyrone looked like he might flip the table. "And legally," Attorney Stone added, "you have no claim to Zaria either. You cannot control her finances. You cannot claim guardianship. You cannot dictate a single thing in her life." The room shook with their panic. "No!" Melody screamed, standing so abruptly the chair fell again. "She owes us. She's our blood." Attorney Stone's voice turned to ice. "Blood is irrelevant. The law doesn't care about DNA. It cares about responsibility, and neither of you showed any." Tyrone's face twisted with rage. "You think this is over? You think we just gonna walk away with nothing?" Attorney Stone stepped closer, unflinching. "I don't think," she said. "I know." Her eyes were lethal. "Because if you don't walk out of here now, I will have security escort you out, and I will press charges for harassment of my client." Melody's mouth opened to argue, and then she saw Attorney Stone reach for her phone. Tyrone grabbed her wrist. "Let's go," he muttered, his voice trembling. "We'll come back. We ain't done." They shuffled out in a storm of anger, denial, and desperation, the door shut with a heavy thud. Silence flooded the room. It took me 10 whole seconds before I realized I was breathing again. Attorney Stone turned to me, her expression transforming from ice to warmth. "Zaria, your mother loved you fiercely. She protected you long before you even understood you needed protecting." My voice came out cracked and soft. Why didn't she tell me?" "She didn't want you to carry the weight of what your biological parents chose," Stone said gently. "She wanted you to feel wanted, not bought." The room blurred through my tears. I pressed the adoption document to my chest. For the first time in weeks, I felt held, safe, seen. "She was a warrior," Attorney Stone said, "and she made sure to win her final battle." I nodded slowly, but before the moment could settle, Attorney Stone's expression darkened. "But Zaria, I need you to understand something." My stomach tightened. What? "They're not going to accept this. People like Melody and Tyrone, they don't lose quietly." A chill raced down my spine. "What do you mean?" "They'll be back," she said, "and next time, they won't come alone." 3 days later, I learned exactly what she meant when a stranger knocked on my door and handed me an envelope that would upend everything all over again. 3 days passed like blurred streaks of time, soft, slow, suffocating. I spent most of them in my mother's house. No, my house now. A sprawling two-story estate on Peachwood Ridge, tucked behind tall magnolias and a wrought iron gate that Leora had always kept locked. Now I understood why. I walked through each room slowly those days, letting memories cling to me the way sunlight clung to dust. Her perfume still lingered on the staircase, her silk scarf still hung on the arm of the living room sofa. There were mornings I swore I heard her humming in the kitchen. Grieving someone who raised you feels like losing oxygen. You breathe, but nothing fills you. But I was trying to clean, trying to sleep, trying to live. Trying to believe that the storm Melody and Tyrone brought into Attorney Stone's office had passed. It hadn't. The trouble arrived on the third morning, in a noise. A soft knock, not loud, not aggressive, just deliberate. 3 taps, enough to pull me out of bed. Out of my daze, I pulled a hoodie over my tank top and walked down the hallway. The house felt colder than usual. Maybe it was me, maybe it was something else, something pressing against the walls. I reached the door and checked the monitor above the lock. A man stood on the porch, tall, gray blazer. No expression, not someone I recognized. He held a large manila envelope in both hands, like it was fragile or poisonous. I hesitated. "Who is it? Ms. Torres?" His voice was flat. "I have documents for you." My breath tightened. Not again. Not another ambush. Not another ghost from the past crawling out of the dark. I opened the door slowly, keeping the chain lock on. "Yes?" He didn't smile, didn't blink. "I was asked to deliver this." He lifted the envelope like an offering. "By who?" "I'm not authorized to say." The answer made every hair on my neck rise. Authorized? This wasn't Amazon, and it definitely wasn't some friendly neighbor with banana bread. This was something else. He slid the envelope through the gap in the door and stepped back. "Please read it as soon as possible." Before I could say another word, he turned and walked down the steps. His movements were precise, stiff, methodical, like someone trained not to leave fingerprints on anything. He didn't look back. I slammed the door shut, threw the bolt, and pressed my back against it, breathing hard. The house felt too quiet. The envelope lay at my feet like a venomous snake waiting to be handled. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I picked it up. The paper was thick, expensive, unmarked. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were 2 things: a typed letter, a single photograph. My heartbeat pounded in my ears as I looked at the photo first. It was my mother, Leora, but not in the way I wanted to remember her. She was leaving a hospital room, thin, tired, holding onto the wall for support. Her face was pale, her posture weakened. She looked defeated. Someone had taken this picture without her knowledge. My stomach dropped. The date stamped in the corner was 6 weeks before she died. 6 weeks. She had never told me she was hospitalized, not once. I covered my mouth with both hands as tears blurred my vision. Why didn't she tell me? Why was she alone? Who took this picture? Who sent it to me? My hands trembled as I grabbed the letter. The font was crisp and cold. "Ms. Torres, your mother did not die of natural causes. You need to request her medical records from County General Wing C. They will not release them willingly. Ask for Dr. Heller. Do not trust the staff who cared for her. Someone altered her chart. Someone wanted your inheritance to be vulnerable. Be careful who you speak to. You are being watched. A friend." The room spun around me. My knees buckled. Someone altered her chart? Someone made her death look natural? And why? To make my inheritance vulnerable? To make me vulnerable? My hands shook uncontrollably. "No," I whispered to myself. No, this can't be real." But the picture said otherwise. My mother didn't look like someone peacefully fading away. She looked like someone fighting something she wasn't supposed to fight alone. I stood frozen in the foyer, my breath short and sharp. A sudden vibration startled me. My phone buzzed on the hallway table. I rushed to it, hoping it was Attorney Stone, even though I didn't know what I would even tell her. But when I looked at the screen, my blood ran cold. An unknown number. 3 words. "Did you get it?" I stumbled back, nearly dropping the phone. Before I could respond, a new message came in. Don't involve the lawyer yet. She's being watched too. My heart hammered so loudly I could hear it echo in my skull. I backed into the wall. Who was this? How did they know? How could they possibly? Another message. And Zaria. Check the camera feed. Someone was at your house last night. My stomach twisted. Dread soaked through me like cold water. Hands shaking, I pulled up the footage from the night before. The timeline loaded midnight. Empty driveway, 1:15 a.m., nothing. 2:03 a.m., nothing. But at 2:47 a.m., a figure appeared. Not fully on camera, just the edge of their body, the blur of a hoodie, and something glinting in their hand. They were standing beside the magnolia tree, watching the house, watching me. I zoomed in. It was too grainy to see the face, but I could see the shoes. White sneakers with a red stripe. Exactly like the ones Tyrone wore 3 days ago. My breath hitched. Was it him? Or someone he sent? The phone buzzed again. They're not giving up, and what they want is worth killing for. My heart stopped. I stared at the last message, my body trembling. Everything I thought I knew about my mother's death. Everything I thought I knew about Melody and Tyrone's intentions. Everything I thought was behind me. It wasn't over, it was just beginning. And someone out there, someone watching, someone following, knew much more than I did. The next morning, I walked into County General to demand my mother's medical records, and the moment the nurse saw her name, her entire face drained of color. County General Hospital stood at the edge of Briarwood Heights like a forgotten monument. Gray walls, flickering fluorescent lights, and an air that smelled faintly of antiseptic and old secrets I'd driven past it 1,000 times in my life, but never once stepped inside. Until today. I clutched the envelope in my bag as I walked through the sliding doors. The photograph of my mother, frail, alone, exhausted, burned a hole through my memory. Whoever took it had been inside this building. Whoever wrote that letter knew something I didn't. Whoever warned me wasn't lying. The lobby buzzed with morning chaos, phones ringing, nurses rushing, a security guard sipping cheap coffee like it was his only lifeline. But despite all the noise, it still felt eerily silent, like everyone here knew something and no one was willing to say it out loud. I walked up to the front desk where a nurse in teal scrubs typed rapidly at her screen. Her name tag read, Nurse V. Caldwell. She didn't look up when she spoke. Name? I swallowed hard. Zaria Torres, I'm here to request medical records. My mother was a patient here. Fill out the release form, she said, sliding a clipboard without breaking eye contact with her computer. I filled it out with stiff fingers. When I wrote Leora Torres, my hand trembled. I slid the clipboard back. Nurse Caldwell finally looked up. And when she saw the name, her face drained of color instantly. Her fingers froze above the keyboard. Her throat bobbed with a swallow so hard I could see it. She whispered, "You're her daughter?" "Yes," I said slowly, my heartbeat thudding in my ears. "Why?" She blinked rapidly, her expression morphing between shock and fear. Not grief, not sympathy. Fear. I didn't know she had a relative. "She had me," I said sharply, "and I want her full medical file. All of it." Nurse Caldwell looked over her shoulder, then leaned in closer. "Who told you to come here?" My breath caught. No one normal asks that. No one innocent panics that fast. "I'm here on my own," I lied. She stared at me like she didn't believe that for a second. "You should leave," she whispered suddenly. This isn't a good place for questions." "What questions?" I demanded. Why did my mother look terrified in this photo? I pulled it from my bag and slid it across the counter. She hesitated, then snatched it closer. Her hands trembled. "Where did you get this?" "I'm not answering anything," I said. "Give me your records." She looked at me for a long moment, her eyes flicking around the lobby like she expected someone to be watching. Then she sighed shakily and typed something into her computer. I can print some things, but not everything. Some of her files aren't here anymore." A chill crawled down my spine. "What do you mean not here anymore?" "They were reassigned," she said quietly. "To who?" She hesitated, then she whispered a name like it tasted bitter in her mouth. Dr. Heller. My heart skipped a beat. That was the exact name from the anonymous letter. Where can I find him? She shook her head quickly, fear flashing across her face. You don't want to talk to him, trust me. Why? She cut herself off, glancing around nervously again. Then she lowered her voice even more. He handled cases most doctors didn't want to touch, cases with unusual circumstances. What kind of circumstances? She didn't answer. Instead, she gathered a stack of printouts and handed them to me. Take these and go, please. I took them, confusion twisting inside me. But before I could ask anything else, a voice sliced through the air, Ms. Caldwell. A man stood at the end of the counter, tall, thin, wearing a pristine white lab coat. His hair slicked back with surgical precision, his eyes cold and calculating. He didn't blink, not once. I knew instantly. This was Dr. Heller, the man who handled unusual cases, the man whose name appeared in a warning sent by someone who knew too much. The man Nurse Caldwell was terrified of. Nurse Caldwell stiffened like ice. Heller walked toward us slowly, each step measured. Is there a problem? He asked, voice smooth but hollow. No, Caldwell said quickly, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Just assisting this visitor. His gaze shifted to me. And when his eyes met mine, something dark moved behind them. Not anger, not curiosity, recognition, like he already knew who I was, like he'd been expecting me. You must be Ms. Torres, he said, lips curling into a thin, unsettling smile. My breath caught. How do you know my name? I knew your mother, he said calmly, quite well. My stomach twisted. Not a single muscle in his face moved when he spoke. Is there something you need? He asked. I forced myself to stand tall. I want her medical records. He blinked once, slowly. Unfortunately, much of her file is classified. Classified? I repeated, disbelief punching through my voice. She had heart failure. What's classified about that? He tilted his head slightly. That's not what she came in for. A cold sweat broke out down my back. What do you mean? I whispered. What was wrong with her? She didn't tell you? He asked, raising an eyebrow. How interesting. Nurse Caldwell shot me a pleading look. She mouthed the words, leave, now. But I couldn't leave, not when he was hiding something, not when my mother died alone in this building. Dr. Heller, I have a legal right to her file. He gave that same small, unnerving smile. Not to the parts she chose not to disclose. I froze. My mother never hid anything from me. His expression sharpened. Oh, Ms. Torres, he murmured. You'd be surprised what people hide when they're afraid. My lungs tightened. Afraid of what? He leaned forward slightly. Of the consequences. His words slithered into the space between us. I couldn't breathe. He stepped back and smoothed his lab coat. If you want answers, he said, voice turning cold, the only person who can give them to you isn't me. Then who? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He gave a small, chilling smile. A nurse who no longer works here, someone your mother trusted, someone who left abruptly after your mother's final visit. Who? I demanded. He began to walk away, but right before he turned the corner, he looked back at me. His eyes were colder than winter. Her name was Nurse Dahlia. And if you're smart, you'll stop looking for her. He disappeared down the hallway. Nurse Caldwell exhaled shakily, sinking into her chair. You need to go, she said urgently. Dr. Heller isn't someone you question. I stared at the stack of papers in my hand. Something dark was happening here. Something my mother tried to protect me from. Something dangerous enough to get records deleted, nurses fired, and warnings sent anonymously to my house. I clutched the envelope and stepped back from the desk. I'm not done, I whispered. Nurse Caldwell's eyes filled with fear. That's what I'm afraid of. That night, as I studied the papers Nurse Caldwell gave me, I found something tucked between the pages, a handwritten note from my mother that no one else was supposed to see. The papers Nurse Caldwell had given me were stuffed into a plain hospital folder. Lab results, discharge forms, vitals, medication lists. Nothing revealing. Nothing that explained the fear in her eyes or the cold calculation in Dr. Heller's. I sat at my dining table that night, surrounded by silence so thick it felt alive. Outside, the magnolia branches brushed against the windows like fingers. My mother's house. My house felt different now. Hollow, watching, listening. I kept flipping through the records page after page, tests normal, vitals stable, blood work routine, almost too routine. It felt like hospital paperwork designed to look ordinary. That's when I noticed it, a page that didn't match the others. The paper was a different texture, slightly yellowed, folded once down the middle like it had been secreted away. My chest tightened. I unfolded it slowly. My mother's handwriting appeared instantly. Detailed, looping, unmistakable. I recognized it from birthday cards, grocery lists, the sticky notes she used to leave on my bedroom door. But this wasn't a message she ever intended for casual eyes. Her words were shaky, incomplete in places, as if written while she was tired or in pain. Zaria, my love, if you're reading this, something went wrong. Something I prayed would stay buried. You must be careful who you trust. Not everyone at the hospital was your friend. Some were working for people I moved away from years ago. People who wanted something I refused to give. If you're digging, stop. Please stop. You're my heart. I don't want you in danger. If anything happens to me, find Dahlia. She knows everything. She was the only one brave enough to warn me and Zaria. Forgive me for what I never told you. L. My breath left me in a sharp, painful rush. She knew. She knew something was happening. She knew someone was watching. She knew she was in danger, and she still didn't tell me. The note felt like a bruise pressed straight into my soul. I read it again and again. Danger, warnings. Something I moved away from. My mother had secrets I never imagined she carried. She always seemed so composed, so in control of everything she touched. But this note, this trembling confession, shattered that illusion. The doorbell suddenly rang. The sound sliced through the silence so violently I jolted out of my chair. My heart raced. Not again, not tonight. I grabbed my phone in one hand and the folded note in the other and crept toward the monitors. My fingers trembled as I tapped the camera feed. A shadow stood on the porch, not moving, not knocking again, just standing. Something in the way they stood felt familiar. I zoomed in. The hood was up, covering most of their face. But the shoes. Black sneakers with a teal stripe. Not Melody, not Tyrone. Someone else. Someone I didn't recognize. My mouth went dry. They stood there for a full minute before slowly walking back to a dark sedan idling by the curb. No plates visible, no lights on. They drove off silently. I exhaled shakily and locked the door twice. Whoever sent that message saying I was being watched wasn't exaggerating. My phone buzzed loudly, jolting me. I looked down. Unknown number again. Stop looking into this. You're only making it worse. I backed away from the door. Another message came instantly. Did you think you were the only one your mother protected? A fresh chill gripped my spine, and then we protected her too. But Dahlia crossed the line. Don't follow her. My breath caught. They knew I'd found the note. They knew Dahlia's name. My mother was right. Someone was watching everything. I blocked the number immediately, hands shaking, and rushed back to the dining table. The edges of the note curled under my fingers like it wanted to speak again. Dahlia. Dahlia, Dahlia, the only person my mother trusted, the only person Dr. Heller warned me not to find, the only person who suddenly left her job. No job ends that abruptly unless someone wants you gone. I opened my laptop, searched, Nurse Dahlia Briarwood Heights County General, nothing. Next search, Dahlia RN Fulton Crest County, nothing. Next, Dahlia missing Briarwood. A ping, my stomach dropped. A news article from 6 weeks ago, posted only once on a small local page, never shared. The headline was subtle, almost buried. Local nurse terminates employment suddenly, no contact since a tiny blurry photo showed the hospital entrance. No picture of Dahlia, no follow-up story, nothing. She didn't quit. She disappeared. My pulse thundered. I wasn't searching anymore. I was spiraling. A soft buzz vibrated from under the pile of papers. My phone again, I ignored it, but it buzzed again and again. Annoyed and panicked, I grabbed it. The screen showed a name I never expected, Tyrone Reed. I froze. My thumb hovered above the screen. I shouldn't answer. Nothing good ever came from talking to him. Nothing honest ever left his mouth. But what if he knew something? What if this wasn't about the inheritance anymore? What if this was bigger? I answered slowly, "Hello?" There was silence for a long second. Then his voice came on, low, breathless, frantic. "Zaria, listen to me." Something in his tone made my stomach twist. He wasn't angry, he wasn't demanding, he wasn't smug, he sounded terrified. "What do you want, Tyrone?" I snapped. "If this is about the money, this ain't about the damn money," he hissed. "Stop talking to the hospital. Stop asking questions." My grip tightened on the phone. "Why?" He inhaled sharply. "Because the people Leora crossed, the people she was running from, they ain't dead. They ain't in jail. They ain't gone." My heart stopped cold. "What people?" I whispered. He hesitated. "They came to see me," he said finally, voice trembling. "Last night." My pulse hammered. "What? Who?" "I don't know," he snapped. "A tall man in a gray blazer, same one who delivered something to your house, probably. He showed up at my apartment. He asked about you. He asked what you knew, and then he said if we don't stop digging, we're gonna end up like—" He stopped. "Like who?" I demanded. He didn't answer. "Tyrone, like who?" His breathing hitched. "Like Dahlia." My entire world tilted. "Tyrone, what happened to her?" But he didn't answer. The line went dead. My hands shook uncontrollably. Dahlia wasn't just missing. Something happened to her. Something connected to my mother. Something connected to her death. Something connected to me. The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too exposed. I grabbed my bag, the note, and the hospital records. If someone was watching me, I couldn't stay here. Not alone. I rushed to the door and froze. Because through the peephole, a car I didn't recognize had parked across the street. Engine running, headlights off, watching. The next morning, I went to Attorney Stone, and what she found buried in my mother's medical file made her turn pale for the first time since I'd known her. I barely slept. Every sound outside the house felt dangerous. A car door shutting, dogs barking down the street, branches scraping across the window. Every noise made my pulse spike. That car across the street stayed there until almost 4 a.m., engine idling, no movement inside. It finally rolled away just before dawn, disappearing down Peachwood Ridge like a shadow melting into fog. I didn't wait for the sun to fully rise. At 7:13 a.m., I stood outside Attorney Miriam Stone's office, holding the folder of medical papers like it was a live explosive. Her receptionist took one look at my face and let me inside without a single question. Attorney Stone stood near her window, sifting through legal documents. The minute she saw me, her usual stone-calm expression faltered. "Zaria, what happened?" I didn't speak. I couldn't. If I opened my mouth, everything inside me would crumble. I set the hospital folder on her desk. She closed the blinds, locked the door, and gestured for me to sit. Once I finally forced myself into the chair, I told her everything. The anonymous letter, the photograph of my mother, the messages from the unknown number, the stranger dropping off the envelope, the figure in my yard, Tyrone's terrified phone call. Stone listened without interrupting, her sharp eyes narrowing with each detail. When I finished, the room felt 10 degrees colder. She reached for the folder. "Let me see what you found." I inhaled deeply. "Be careful. There's something strange in there." She flipped through pages, routine labs, vitals, charts, nothing unusual. Then her fingers froze. "What is this?" I leaned forward. She held up a sheet of paper that looked nothing like the others. The header wasn't County General Hospital. It was blank. No logo, no signature, no department name. Just a coded series of letters and numbers across the top. Protocol NX-17. Patient LT. Date 8 weeks prior. The page contained a short note, Handwritten but not by my mother, it read, "Patient exhibiting fear responses. Requested confidentiality. No family present. Administered compound. Monitor vitals. Do not document." My breath caught, "Do not document." Stone whispered, "What compound?" She flipped the page over. Nothing. Then checked the rest of the folder. Nothing like it anywhere. "This wasn't meant to be in her file," Stone said, voice low. "Someone hid this page. Someone who wanted you to find it." "Who?" I whispered. Stone didn't answer immediately. She stood, pacing slowly in front of her desk, as if fitting puzzle pieces together in her head. Then she stopped. "This is written by a medical professional," she said. "Someone who ignored procedure. Someone who didn't want the administration to know what they were doing." "Is it Dr. Heller?" Stone shook her head. "No, Heller's handwriting is controlled, technical, rigid. This—" She studied the note again. "This handwriting is anxious, rushed, like someone writing while scared." I swallowed hard. "Dahlia?" Her silence was my answer. My mother's warning echoed in my head. "Find Dahlia. She knows everything." Stone placed the paper on her desk with surgical precision, her fingertips barely touching it. "This," she said sternly, "is evidence of medical misconduct. Possibly criminal?" She paused. "Possibly more." "More?" My voice cracked. "What's more than criminal misconduct?" Stone looked at me. Really looked at me. "Zaria, what if someone wanted your mother to die?" The words punched the air out of my lungs. "No," I whispered. "No, she had health issues. She was tired, stressed." "Your mother had minor heart arrhythmia," Stone interrupted. "Not terminal illness, not something that should have killed her weeks after a hospital visit?" I shook my head vigorously. "No, she'd been tired for months." "Because she was afraid?" Stone said softly. "Fear is exhausting." My eyes stung. "She never told me she was scared." "She was trying to protect you," Stone murmured, reaching across her desk to hand me the note. "She didn't want you involved in whatever this was." My hands trembled as I took it. "She asked me to stop digging," I whispered. "She literally wrote it." "And do you want to stop?" I looked up sharply. "No." Stone nodded once, as if expecting that answer. "Then we need the rest of her file," she said, "and the only person who can give it to us is Dahlia." "But she disappeared," I said, 6 weeks ago." "People don't just disappear," Stone said. "They get pushed out, threatened, bought out, or silenced." That last word felt like cold metal pressed against my chest. I stood abruptly. "We have to find her." Stone shook her head. "We can't rush. Whoever sent you that letter is being watched, and now so are you." "I don't care," I said, voice trembling with anger. "Someone hurt my mother." Stone stepped closer, resting a hand on my shoulder. "I know," she said softly, "but if you disappear too, then your mother's truth disappears with you." Her calm steadied me, but didn't quiet the fire inside. "So what do we do next?" I asked. Stone walked to her file cabinet, unlocked the bottom drawer, and pulled out a large binder. She placed it on the desk. "We start with paper trails." She opened it to a tab labeled County General. "Every medical professional employed there for the last year is documented here. Public records, Dahlia's address, previous workplaces, certification records, all of it." My heart raced with hope, but Stone's expression darkened. "However," she continued, "if someone wanted Dahlia gone, these records might not be accurate anymore." I sat down again, hands shaking with a blend of fear and determination. Stone tapped the binder. "We investigate quietly. We make no noise. We tell no one." Her voice hardened. "And under no circumstances do you contact Melody or Tyrone." "Why?" She exhaled slowly. "Because the people who came after Dahlia went to them last night. They're being used as informants." My blood ran cold. My voice came out a whisper. "How did you know they were visited?" Stone didn't smile or blink or look surprised. She simply stared into me with a gaze that felt centuries old. "Because before they came to you," she said, "those same people came to my house." The room spun. "What?" Stone sat again, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "They asked what I knew. she said. They asked about your mother's estate, about the termination papers, about you. I swallowed, throat tight. What did you tell them? She met my gaze evenly. The truth, she said. I stared at her in horror. You told them everything? No, she said sharply. I told them nothing. Relief washed through me, but it didn't last long because then she added, but they already knew too much. My heart slammed against my ribs. What do you mean? Stone looked down at the hidden page from the medical file. They knew your mother was afraid. They knew she visited the hospital repeatedly. They knew about Nurse Dahlia, and they knew someone inside County General was helping her. I swallowed. So why come to you? Her voice lowered. Because they're desperate to know what your mother left behind. I frowned. Her will. Stone shook her head. Not her will. She pointed to the hidden page again. Her secret. My stomach dropped. What secret? Stone looked at me with a mixture of caution and regret. The one she died protecting. My entire body went still. A heavy silence filled the room. Then Stone quietly opened a desk drawer and pulled something out. A key, not an ordinary key. A small silver one with numbers etched into it. She placed it into my trembling hand. This, she said softly, was found taped to the back of your mother's adoption decree. I didn't tell you then, because I wasn't sure it mattered. What does it open? I whispered. Stone exhaled. I don't know. She stared at the key, but whatever it unlocks, your mother didn't want anyone to find it. I stared at the cold metal. A strange dread pooled in my stomach. Zaria, Stone said quietly, before she died, your mother hid something, and someone is trying to find it. I clenched the key, my mother's note, Dahlia's disappearance, the altered medical records, the strange man in the gray blazer, the messages from the unknown number. Piece by piece, something larger was forming, and it terrified me. Stone said softly, You're not dealing with desperate parents anymore. Her eyes darkened. You're dealing with a network. A cold wave washed through me. My voice trembled. What did they want from her? Stone's reply was a whisper. Information. I inhaled shakily. What information? She looked directly into my eyes, the kind people kill for. That night, someone broke into my mother's house, and the only thing they touched was her bedroom closet. The house felt different the moment I stepped inside that night. Not colder, not darker, just disturbed. As if someone had exhaled inside a sealed room, I closed the door behind me and the air felt heavier, thicker, like it had been stirred recently. I walked slowly through the foyer, my hand instinctively brushing the wall like my mother used to do when she was nervous. Everything looked normal. The keys on the hook, the slippers by the stairs, the framed photo of Leora and me at a charity gala. But the quiet wasn't normal. Not this kind of quiet. The refrigerator wasn't humming. The clock wasn't ticking. Not a single floorboard creaked. It was the silence of a house that had been watched. I swallowed hard and set my bag on the table. I checked the security app on my phone. 10:14 p.m. motion detected, upstairs hallway. My chest tightened. The alert was from less than 40 minutes ago. I tapped into the recording. The screen flickered. Static. A distorted shadow. A figure moving past the camera, but the entire frame blurred, like someone waved something reflective across the lens. I couldn't see their face. Not even their clothing. Just movement. Intentional. Careful. Controlled. Someone had been inside my home, and they knew exactly where the cameras were. My legs trembled, but I forced myself up the stairs, one step at a time. My heartbeat wasn't beating. It was hammering. When I reached the upstairs hallway, everything looked normal, except one detail. My mother's bedroom door was open. Leora never left it open, not once in my entire life. I pushed the door wider and stepped inside. Her room smelled faintly of jasmine and old books, the scent she always carried. The bed was untouched, the curtains closed. Her jewelry box sat neatly on her dresser. Nothing seemed out of place, but the air felt invaded. I walked slowly toward her closet. The door was ajar, just barely. A whisper-thin gap. My mother never left it open. She hated clutter, hated the draft that moved through the door, hated seeing even the edge of her coats out of place. But now it was open. Someone had been in there. My hand shook as I touched the knob and pushed the door open completely. The closet light flickered to life. My breath caught. Everything inside was exactly where she left it. Her blazers arranged by color, her heels lined perfectly along the bottom shelf, her winter coats wrapped in fabric garment bags. Nothing looked disturbed, but then I noticed it. On the top shelf near the back corner, a thin layer of dust, wiped clean, a perfect rectangular space where something used to sit. My stomach dropped. Something had been taken, or searched for. I climbed onto a stool and reached toward the empty spot. I touched the wood smooth, cold, recently disturbed. Someone had taken something from this shelf. But what? There were indentations. Faint, narrow, rectangular, like a box had sat there for years. A long, slim box, a box I had never seen. I climbed down slowly. There was a small chest on the floor. An old cedar box Leora had used for scarves. I pulled it forward and opened it. Nothing. I searched through the bottom drawers of her dresser. Nothing. Her nightstand. Nothing. Her vanity drawers empty of anything important. My breathing quickened. "What were you hiding?" I whispered. And then my eyes caught something strange. The closet's back wall. A faint line, barely visible under the paint, running vertically from ceiling to floor. I moved closer. It wasn't a crack, it was a seam, a hidden panel. My hands trembled as I ran my fingers along it. The seam was thin but intentional, like a door without a knob. My heart thudded harder as I pressed gently. Nothing moved. I pressed harder, still nothing. Then I remembered the key, the small silver key Attorney Stone gave me, the one taped behind the adoption papers, the one we didn't know the purpose of. I pulled it from my pocket with shaking hands. There was no obvious keyhole. But at the bottom corner of the panel, the tiniest metal indentation, almost invisible unless you were inches from it. My breath caught. I inserted the key. It fit perfectly. I turned it slowly. Click. The panel creaked, and then it opened. A narrow compartment revealed itself, barely a foot wide, running the height of the closet. Inside were three things: a leather-bound notebook, a small sealed envelope with my name on it, a metal lockbox, empty. My stomach twisted. That was what someone took. Whatever used to be in that lockbox, that's why someone broke in. Hands trembling, I grabbed the notebook first. The cover was worn, the leather soft from years of touch. I opened it carefully. My mother's handwriting, page after page, notes, dates, names, hospital visits, symptoms she never told me about, people she mistrusted, places she had been forced to go, and one phrase repeated more than once. If I don't make it, it wasn't natural. My lips parted. My throat constricted. I had to force air into my lungs. I flipped through faster. Every page was worse. They want what I took. Dahlia said it's not safe here. Someone in the hospital is watching me. I can't let Zaria know. If she finds this, the truth will destroy her. My hands shook uncontrollably. I reached for the sealed envelope with my name written in her handwriting. My vision blurred instantly. Zaria. My heart twisted at the sight of it. I sat on the edge of her bed, legs trembling, and opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a letter. I recognized the handwriting immediately, steadier than the notes in the notebook, written before she got sick. My Zaria, if you are reading this, it means someone found the lockbox. It means I failed to keep it safe. I wanted to tell you everything, but I couldn't risk your life. There are people who spent years trying to find what I hid. I took it from them because it was wrong, because they were hurting people, because I couldn't let them hurt you. But now they will come for you thinking you have it. Zaria, run. Don't stay in the house. Don't trust the hospital. Don't trust anyone until you find Dahlia. She knows where I put the original Follow the River. That's all I can say safely. I love you more than anything I ever built, ever earned, ever fought for. Forgive me for what you will soon know. Mom, I pressed the letter to my chest, sobbing, shaking, breaking. She knew. She knew they were coming. She knew this wasn't over. She knew they would come for me after she died. The lockbox was empty. Whoever broke in took what they thought was inside. But my mother moved it. She hid it somewhere else, somewhere Dahlia knew, somewhere along the river. I wiped my face, trying to focus. The house suddenly felt smaller, tighter, like it was closing in. I needed to leave. Now, I grabbed the notebook, the letter, the key, and shoved everything into my bag. But as I turned to leave the bedroom, a loud crash echoed downstairs. My heart stopped. Someone was in the house. Again, and this time, they weren't here to search. They were here for me. I crept to the top of the stairs, and the man standing in my living room wasn't a stranger. It was someone who swore he would never see me again. The crash echoed through the house, sharp enough to slice through every thought in my head. I froze at the top of the stairs, my breath trapped inside my lungs. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my feet stayed rooted to the floor. Another sound followed, a low grunt, then the unmistakable creak of the living room floorboards, the ones that always groaned under the weight of a person. Not the wind, not an animal, a person. My heart slammed against my ribs as I edged closer to the railing. I peeked between the banisters, praying it was some horrible misunderstanding. It wasn't. A man stood in my living room, not masked, not hiding, just standing there. Tall, broad shoulders, dark jacket. His hands were shaking slightly, like he didn't want to be here, or like he'd already done something he regretted. When he finally stepped into the glow of the table lamp he'd knocked over, my breath caught in my throat. Tyrone? His head snapped up. I felt my knees weaken. "It's you," he whispered, sounding almost relieved. "Thank God you're here." I gripped the railing so hard my knuckles went white. "What are you doing in my house?" I demanded, my voice trembling with anger and fear. His eyes darted around the room like he expected someone else to appear at any moment. "I didn't break in," he said quickly. "The back door was already open when I got here." I narrowed my eyes. "Why would you come here at all?" He swallowed hard, running a hand through his hair. "They came back," he said. "The same people who came last night. They followed me from my apartment. I didn't know where else to go." "So you came here?" I snapped. "To drag them to my doorstep?" "I ain't dragged nobody," he shot back. "I came to warn you." His voice cracked at the last word. "Warn me about what?" I whispered. His face twisted with fear so real, it made my stomach sink. "About what they want," he said. "About what your mother took." My blood ran cold. He stepped forward, hands raised like he was trying to calm a wild animal. "No games, Zaria. They told me everything. They think I know where it is. They think you know. They think we're hiding it for her." My heart pounded harder. "Hiding what?" He exhaled shakily. "I don't know," he admitted. "They didn't tell me exactly, but they kept calling it the original." The word hit me like ice, the lockbox, my mother's notebook, her final letter, everything connected. "What do they think I have?" I whispered. He looked at me like he was afraid to say it out loud. "Something your mother stole before she adopted you." My breath caught. My mother didn't steal. He didn't argue, but the hesitation in his eyes told me even he didn't fully believe that. Or maybe he didn't know what to believe anymore. "Tyrone," I said carefully, "who exactly came to your apartment?" He shook his head violently. "I don't know their names. One tall man in a gray blazer, same one who came to your house. Same cold face, same dead eyes. 2 others with him. They cornered me in the stairwell. Told me to hand over the original or they'd remove me from the equation." He swallowed. "I thought they was bluffing." Then one of them pulled out a picture. "A picture of who?" He hesitated, then he pulled something from his pocket, a photograph. He handed it to me with shaking fingers. My heart split open. It was a picture of me, taken earlier today, in the hospital parking lot. I nearly dropped it. "They're watching you," he whispered. "They're watching us, and they think we're working together." "We're not," I said quickly. "I know that," he snapped back, "but they don't." He paced, eyes wild, voice cracking. "They said if I didn't find it for them, they'd make you disappear the way they made that nurse disappear." My throat tightened painfully. Dahlia. He nodded. They told me what they did to her. I stiffened. What did they do? I asked, bracing myself. Tyrone looked away. They made an example out of her. My entire body trembled. Tyrone, I whispered, where is she? What happened to her? He wiped the sweat from his forehead, shaking his head. Gone. No trace. Nobody saw her leave. No camera caught her. She didn't clock out. One day she was there. Next day she wasn't. They made sure nobody ever looked for her. I felt sick, and they'll do the same to you, he said quietly, unless you give them what they want. I stepped back. I don't have anything. He stared at me, breathing hard. They don't believe that. I don't care what they believe, I snapped. They can't just... A loud, heavy bang cut me off. At the front door, both of us froze. Another bang, and another. Something or someone was hitting the door hard enough to shake the frame. My heart thundered. Tyrone's face drained of color. It's them, he whispered. My mind raced. I grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the stairs. We need to hide. No, he said, voice trembling. We need to run. The banging grew louder, more forceful, then a voice, cold, flat, familiar. Zaria Torres, we know you're home. My stomach twisted so violently I thought I might collapse. It was the man in the gray blazer. Tyrone backed away, hands shaking uncontrollably. Oh God, he whispered. Oh God, oh God, oh God. The man's voice came again. You have something that belongs to us. I don't, I yelled, panic cracking my voice. Silence, then. You have 10 seconds to open this door peacefully. Tyrone grabbed my arm. Please, he begged, just give them something, anything. I can't, I cried. There's nothing to give. His breathing turned frantic. We're gonna die, he whispered. We're actually gonna... Another voice, not the man's, spoke from behind the door. A woman's voice, sharp, familiar, melody. We know you have it, girl, she snapped. You think you can hide from us forever? My stomach dropped to the floor. Tyrone's parents were out there, with them, every horror fused into one moment. The house, the break-in, the lockbox, my mother's secret, the network, and now Melody and Tyrone's allies at my door. Tyrone grabbed both sides of his head, shaking violently. I didn't tell them to come, he cried. They followed me. I swear they followed me. The man in the gray blazer spoke again. 5 seconds. I felt the blood drain from my face. 4 seconds. 3. I grabbed Tyrone's wrist. We can't go through the door. We have to take the back exit, through the kitchen. He looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. But what if they're already back there? My fingers tightened around the notebook in my bag. Then we don't stop running, I whispered. 2. I pulled him toward the hallway. 1. We sprinted right as the front door exploded inward. The moment we reached the kitchen, someone stepped out of the shadows, blocking the back door completely, and whispered, Zaria, don't run. The kitchen lights were off, but the moonlight spilling through the back windows gave just enough glow to see the silhouette waiting for us. A figure stood between us and the back door, arms crossed, blocking the only exit left. I skidded to a stop so fast my socks slid on the tile. Tyrone rammed into my shoulder, nearly knocking me over. He looked up, and the color drained from his face. Oh God, he whispered, not you. The figure stepped forward and my heart stuttered. It wasn't the man in the gray blazer. It wasn't Melody. It wasn't anyone I expected. It was attorney Miriam Stone. Her face was calm, but her eyes glowed with something fierce, something ancient, something protective. Zaria, she murmured, her voice low and steady. Don't run. I blinked, stunned. My thoughts sputtered like a dying engine. Attorney Stone? What are you doing here? She didn't answer. Immediately behind us, the front door splintered. Heavy footsteps entered the foyer. A man barked an order. A woman's voice hissed something cruel. They were inside. Stone stepped closer. I told you they'd be back, she said softly. I told you they were watching. You, I stammered. You came here. You followed me? Her eyes warmed, but only slightly. No, Zaria, I protected you, there's a difference. Tyrone stumbled backward until he hit a cabinet. Are you working with them? He demanded, voice cracking. Did you bring them here? Stone didn't grace that with a response. Instead, she lifted her chin, listening. The footsteps were spreading, two heading toward the living room, one moving down the hall, one coming closer to the kitchen. She turned to me again. Give me your bag, she whispered. What? Why? Zaria, now. The urgency in her tone cut through my panic. I slipped the bag off my shoulder and handed it to her. She opened it, saw the notebook and the letter, and exhaled with something like relief. You found the closet, she said. You knew about it, I shouted. Of course I did, she said. Your mother trusted me more than anyone. My stomach twisted. Then why didn't you tell me sooner? Her eyes softened and hardened at the same time. Because if you knew too early, she whispered, you would have died too. The footsteps grew louder. One set, very close. Stone turned toward the back door and tapped her fingers lightly against the metal handle, a rhythm, almost like a code. Something clicked softly inside. Then she looked at me. Stay quiet and stay behind me. The footsteps entered the kitchen doorway. The tall man in the gray blazer appeared, expression blank and deadly. Two others followed, one holding a flashlight, the other carrying a crowbar still dripping with splinters from my front door. Then Melody limped in after them, breathing hard, mascara smeared. There she is, she screeched. I told y'all she'd be here. The man ignored her, his cold eyes locked onto me. Zaria Torres, he said, you've caused us a great deal of trouble. Stone stepped forward. And who exactly are you? She asked, voice cool. He smiled, not warmly, not humanly. You already know who we are. Stone didn't blink. I know what you pretend to be. The man's jaw tightened. Tyrone slid farther into the corner, whispering to himself like a broken record. They're gonna kill us. They're gonna kill us. I swallowed hard and forced myself to speak. What do you want? The man's gaze flicked to the bag Stone now held. The original, he said simply. Stone held the bag closer to her body. You'll never get it. Behind him, Melody let out an ugly, desperate scream. She's lying. That's where the money is. That's where the papers are. Take it from her. She lunged forward like a wild animal, reaching for the bag. Stone moved faster. She grabbed Melody's wrist midair and twisted hard. Melody shrieked, dropping to her knees as Stone pushed her aside like she weighed nothing. The man took another step. Final warning, he said. Hand it over. Stone's posture didn't change. You can threaten us all you want, she said coolly, but you can't take what doesn't exist. The man's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Stone lifted the bag in front of her. You think Leora kept the original in her house? In a lockbox? Her smile was small and lethal. You underestimate her. The man's expression cracked, just for a moment, then it hardened again. She hid it, Stone continued, long before she got sick, long before you came sniffing around. Something clicked inside me. The river, I whispered. Stone gave the slightest nod. The man's head snapped toward me. Tell me. I stared back, trembling but refusing to break. I don't know anything. He stepped forward. Stone stepped in front of me. You hurt her, she warned, and you will not leave this house alive. For the first time, the man truly hesitated, and that's when I realized something I never saw before. Stone wasn't afraid of them. They were afraid of her. He studied her face. You're interfering in business that doesn't concern you. Stone tilted her head slightly. It concerns me the moment it concerns my client. That word, client, sounded like a threat when she said it. The man looked at the two men beside him and gave a small nod. They moved forward, and Stone moved faster. She grabbed the handle on the back door again, that same rhythmic tapping, and suddenly the door clicked and swung inward, revealing not the backyard, but a narrow, dark passageway beneath the porch. An escape tunnel. My head spun. What, how? Stone grabbed my wrist. Go. I stumbled forward. Tyrone hesitated. Stone grabbed him too. Move. He obeyed. We scrambled into the darkness. Stone turned back toward the kitchen, eyes sharp. Then she slammed the hidden door shut. Footsteps pounded on the other side. Fists, shouts, the man's furious growl. Open it! But Stone didn't open anything. Instead, she whispered through the dark, Run, don't look back. And for the first time in my life, I ran for my life. But when we reached the end of the tunnel, someone was waiting for us. Someone I thought was dead. The tunnel narrowed the farther we ran. Dirt walls, wooden beams, cold earth beneath our hands as we crawled and stumbled through darkness that felt alive. My lungs burned. Tyrone wheezed behind me. The sounds of fists pounding on the hidden door echoed faintly behind us. Stone's voice echoed through the dark passageway. Don't stop, keep going. I pushed forward, dirt scraping my palms, adrenaline tearing through my veins. The air was damp, heavy, laced with the smell of old soil and rainwater. My mother, my brilliant, paranoid, protective mother, built an escape tunnel under her house. She knew a day like this might come. My heart shattered and swelled at the same time. Finally, the tunnel rose upward, and we reached a small ladder bolted into the side. Stone climbed first, motioning for us to follow. When she shoved the heavy hatch above us, cold night air rushed in. We climbed out one by one. I stumbled onto wet grass, gasping for air, blinking at the sight. We were behind the house, far behind it, near the tree line that edged the river valley. The moon's reflection shimmered off the water like broken glass. Stone grabbed my arm. Stay low, they're still searching. Tyrone collapsed to his knees, shaking. Where are we going now? Stone didn't answer immediately. Her eyes scanned the tree line. We're meeting someone. I wiped dirt from my face, heart hammering, who? She turned to me slowly. The only person who can tell you the truth. My stomach dropped. Stone, I whispered, who's waiting for us? Before she could answer, a twig snapped behind us. I spun around, fists clenched. A figure stepped out from the shadows. A woman, thin, pale, shaking, hair tied back loosely, clothes wrinkled and dirty like she hadn't slept indoors in weeks. Her eyes were wide, terrified, darting around like a hunted animal, and yet familiar. Too familiar. My mouth went dry. No. I whispered, No, that's not... Tyrone stumbled backward. Oh, hell no, you're supposed to be dead. The woman stepped closer, voice cracking like a broken violin. Zariah. My vision blurred. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. Nurse Dahlia? She nodded weakly. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry you had to find out like this. My legs nearly gave out beneath me. You're alive. She nodded again, tears forming. They tried, she said softly. They tried to make me disappear, the same way they made your mother. A sob clawed up my throat. Stone stepped between us protectively. You're safe now, she told Dahlia. They don't know this location, and they won't find it unless we lead them here. Dahlia hugged herself, trembling violently. You shouldn't have involved her, she whispered. They'll never stop now. We didn't involve her, Stone said sternly. Her mother already did. I stared at Dahlia, words choking in my throat. What did my mother take from them? I whispered. What was in the lockbox? She inhaled sharply and shook her head. Not here, she said urgently. Not where they might still find us. We have to move. Stone nodded. Follow the riverbank, she said. Leora left something for you there. Something only Dahlia knows how to access. My heart pounded. The river, I whispered. She mentioned that in her letter. Dahlia flinched at the word letter. She tried to warn you, Dahlia said. She tried so hard. Tyrone finally found his voice again, shaking, desperate. What is it? He demanded. What were they all after? What did she have? Dahlia's eyes met his. Not money, not property, information. Stone nodded grimly. The kind that destroys lives. Dahlia wiped her trembling hands on her shirt. Leora found something in the hospital, she said softly. A file, a list of patients. Patients who were being experimented on without their consent. My blood froze. That can't be, I whispered. It can, Dahlia said, and it did. It's been happening for years. Medical manipulation, illegal trials, quiet deaths. She uncovered everything by accident. Tyrone gasped, Stone's jaw clenched. They were using the hospital, Stone said quietly, as a front for pharmaceutical testing. Dahlia nodded. They were killing people, she said, voice breaking, and when Leora found out, she stole the proof. The world spun around me, the notebook, the hidden closet, the secret lockbox, the men following me. My mother's fear, everything clicked at once. She stole the list, didn't she? I whispered. Dahlia nodded. And they want it back, Stone said. My throat tightened. Where is it? Dahlia took a shaky step forward. Your mother hid it before she died, somewhere only you and the Rivers would understand. What does that mean? I asked, voice cracking. Dahlia pointed toward the rushing water. When you were little, she said, your mother used to take you down to the river to skip stones. She always said that if anything happened to her, you'd know where to go. My eyes burned. The old willow, I whispered. Dahlia's face lit with relief. Yes, she said, the hollow under the willow tree. Stone put a hand on my shoulder. Then we go now. But before any of us could move, a gunshot cracked through the night. We all dove to the ground. The echo ricocheted through the valley, shaking leaves from the trees above us. Tyrone screamed. Dahlia covered her head. Stone scanned the tree line with murderous precision. Then, a flashlight beam cut through the dark. The man in the gray blazer stepped forward, expression colder than moonlight. I told you, he called out. You can't run. My heart stopped. Dahlia sobbed. They found us. I told you they'd find us. Stone grabbed my arm. Run to the willow, now. I grabbed Dahlia's hand, yanked her up, and sprinted toward the riverbank. Tyrone ran behind us, screaming prayers under his breath. Shots rang out behind us, deafening, relentless. We ducked behind a fallen log, bullets shredding bark inches from our faces. Stone fired back from somewhere behind us, the sharp crack of her gun echoing across the water. My ears rang, my legs burned, my heart screamed, but I kept running. The willow stood ahead, its long branches like ghostly fingers swaying in the wind. We slid down the bank, mud splashing beneath us. Dahlia clawed at the roots, frantic. Here, it should be here. I dropped beside her, digging with my bare hands dirt, rocks, roots, until finally my fingers hit something metallic. A tin container. I yanked it out. It was small, simple, rusted at the edges, but inside? Dahlia gasped. Stone's voice screamed behind us. Hurry! I opened the tin. Inside was a USB drive, a handwritten list, and a small card with my mother's handwriting. If you found this, finish what I started. A shadow fell over us. I turned. The man in the gray blazer stood at the bank above us, gun raised, expression blank. You should have listened, he said calmly. A shot rang out. My ears exploded with sound, but I didn't feel pain. Did I get hit? Did Dahlia? The man's face twisted. Then he fell, collapsed. Behind him stood Attorney Stone, breathing hard, gun raised, eyes blazing. She shot him. She actually shot him. She looked down at us, voice shaking for the first time since I'd known her. Get up, she whispered. We're leaving, now. Dahlia sobbed in relief. Tyrone sobbed in terror, and I clutched the tin to my chest as Stone helped us up the riverbank. My mother's truth was in my hands, and everything she died for was only just beginning. The next morning, a breaking news alert lit up my phone. County General Hospital under federal investigation, multiple staff missing. And underneath that headline was my own face. This story isn't over. If you want the truth behind the hospital, the missing nurses, and the people hunting Zaria in the shadows, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because part 2 is coming, and it's going to change everything.